Welcome to HCM Trade Seal. In this video, we'll explore the concepts of using multiple job numbers for similar work or multiple positions. This could be useful. Let's pull up an example job. This could be useful when you want to create an efficiency, such as multiple phase codes per job, multiple cost codes per job, and you want that to signal, hey, some of these prevailing wages are similar, right? So for example, you could have a job with 20 or 30 phase codes, and you might want some of them to lead to an electrician who does heavy highway, or actually, let's make another one on the same job. I can have another, this is a duplicate, and I will call it BL for building. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll make this one electrician, and I will make this one heavy highway. So I can come up with a second class to differentiate. So let's suppose I have, call this building. Okay, suppose I have two wage determinations, but they're on the same conceptual job, and I have a phase coding system that's messy, but some phases are heavy highway, some are building, right? In trade seal, you want to boil this down to a position code, so it's more defensible in an audit. You want all your rate rules to boil down to a job number and a position. So in order to do this, we want to first create two different position codes. I've got an electrician code, wire electrical work. I've got an electrician HH, which is different. It means heavy highway. And so as long as my time tracking system can ultimately produce these codes, or perhaps you could work with trade seal professional services to do mapping automation if your time system can't do it, then you'd end up with two different things. And usually you'll see a different rate. This is usually part of the reason for making two different rates. Perhaps the heavy highway makes $1 more. We'll keep it simple. So I'm going to hit save for this multiple position strategy. Let's also go to fringes. Keep it on job 2. I've got my electrician. If they're the same, I can use this convention. And this would be the same fringe for both. Nice. But it might be a better idea to keep them separate, because often if you've got two different construction types, you want two different values for fringe. So I will say electrician regular is 10. That's fine. And then I'm going to go ahead back to this electrician. I can't remember which one was the original. I guess it doesn't matter. HH, and I'm going to give the HH more. So just another $1 more for this example. And now I have two positions on the same job. So somewhere in my time system, accounting system, etc., I may have multiple phase codes, multiple cost codes that have a strategy, but as I import the data to trade seal, I want to simplify this to position so it's easier to track for human beings reviewing payroll, human beings at trade seal who support your prevailing wages, and also for human beings who may unfortunately inspect or audit your payroll. So that's why this simplicity is so important. Okay, so let's explore what would happen to finish this full example. What would my certified payroll report look like with this strategy? So we'll break it down to a simple cost entry for this week, March 7th, that's fine. And we're going to explore an employee named Carl. And let's see, is Carl union? Oh, Carl's in the SCA group. Let me find a simpler person. Let's see if we can do Harold here. Yeah, Harold is just a simple hourly employee. Okay. So we'll have Harold work 8 hours on Monday. What about phase codes? What if you have a concept like phase codes? That's okay. So we can call it phase 444. And a lot of customers have a convention in an older system where they say, well, phase 444, phase 555, that used to help determine the pay. Okay, well, the phases can remain. You can have any phase coding you want. But what matters is the position chosen, right? So if all my phases that start with 4 mean electrician, then I want my time system to say that's an electrician. So let's give Carl some more time. And again, this would typically happen in your time system, but we're using the cost entry screen to demonstrate. Carl 8 hours on Tuesday. We're going to put phase 555 and say that's the heavy highway. I'm sorry, that's the heavy highway. Okay. So when they do heavy highway, I'm going to use this phase code. So the phase code can be whatever, right? But what's really determining the prevailing wage is this normalized position. Okay, so let's go back to a job number to make sure we get our prevailing wages. We'll put them on the same job, job 2, and job 2 once again. So it should be everything I need to get a prevailing wage match, and I'm going to see probably 2 different rates because they work as building but also as heavy highway in this example. So there's Harold, and in this week we've only got 16 hours. It's just an example. So we've got 8 hours. The rate is 28.50. That's higher than the normal rate of pay, so it bumped them up to prevailing. And here, when they worked on the heavy highway, sorry, okay. Here, when they worked on the heavy highway, it bumped them up even more because that position earns a little bit more. Okay, last but not least, let's create a report. So it clearly got 2 different rates of pay. I used one job number, 2 different positions here. Now, the advantage of doing this is when we go to make a report for week ending March 7th, not going to add any pay stubs to this report, just going to keep it simple. Newer report. Okay, let's hit generate. It says data quality warnings because I did not add any pay stubs. Okay, and I'm going to pause my screen share for a moment and download this to my computer. Okay, so we've got a pretty nice demo certified report here. We have both of the hours. I have the electrician, journeyman. Oh, it looks like I labeled them the same way. I could change the label, but I have the same hours. It looks like 2 different rates, 2 different lines, all one report. So that's the advantage of going with one job number and multiple positions. So let's review this really briefly, and then we'll go to a different example of multiple job numbers. So to review, if I'm going to do one job number, 2 positions, here's my job number 2. Here's the 2 positions, electrician and electrician heavy highway. The cost codes and phase codes can remain whatever they are. I've written notes. Looks like I didn't actually update my label. I'll try to do that in the next example. But it clearly got the 2 different rates. The time cards were fairly straightforward. So if I click on Harold here, I can see that he had 8 hours on the same job, but the position, as Tradesy will call it, was different. And the cost center could be anything, right? And some customers, of course, use multiple cost centers. That can be covered in another video. All right, so we've covered the complete example of cost centers being preserved, multiple positions, one job. So let's look at another example. There's another way to deal with this type of variety if you have multiple wage determinations on one conceptual project or job. So that would be 2 job numbers, 1 position, which may be preferable for your setup. So we'll go back to this example and we're going to change it. So before we change the position, so I have heavy highway was HH, wire electrical was electrician. But now we're going to keep the same position and we're going to vary the job. Just add an HH there. Okay, so the position is the same. In my notes, I can see, oh, and as promised, I'm going to update the label. Heavy highway, okay. Hit save. And let's echo that in the earnings. Here we go. All right, so same idea. Position goes back to electrician. And then we'll just change the job number. The advantage of this is some users find it simpler just to keep the same position. It fits your time system better, whatever it may be. And so we'll walk through this example. So let's go back to the hours. We're going to change Harold. Notice he's not getting a prevailing wage match anymore because the rules got changed around. That's what I expected. All right, so for the electrician, base 444, that was supposed to be building. That looks right. Heavy highway. Now I've got to do is a different strategy. I'm going to say there is no more position called electrician HH, but there is this heavy highway job. So now I've got the same costing. That's no problem. And the position is just electrician now. So it looks like my validation is the same. It found the same prevailing wage rates. Ultimately, the heavy highway is getting paid higher than the regular building. Okay, so let's look at the report. Go generate a report for that week. I believe it's this week. I'm going to skip the payroll journal. I'm going to pick the most modern version and hit generate. So what you'll see that's different is, yes, I was able to keep one position, but now it's going to do two reports. This may be useful because you could simplify. One report has one wage determination, the other has a different wage determination, which was the root of this example, or not. It may be inconvenient to have two reports. It's going to depend on your use case. So I'm going to hit pause, screen share. I'm going to download this report, open it up. Why didn't I get a zip file? Oh, I know why I didn't get a zip file. Okay, that didn't go as expected. Let me show why this is useful to the example. I forgot something. I made this job, but I didn't actually create a job as far as trade seal is concerned. So I've got job two. Yeah, what I'm going to do is duplicate this job. If I'm going to use the two job strategy, I have to create a second job. I might put a wage determination number in here that's different. I won't bother doing that in this example. I'd have to get into advanced fields. But I'm going to keep everything the same. That's where I messed up. I forgot to make this a certified payroll job. Okay, so if I'm going to go multiple jobs, I've got to have two certified payroll job records. All right, let's try this again. I'm going to go to federal, going to go to week ending March 7th, and we're going to go to the latest version and hit generate. Now I'm going to download this, pause screen share, get reports, and this one's giving me a zip file. Okay, this makes more sense. I'm going to resume my screen share. So now when I download my reports, I get two reports. This may be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your goals. So it looks like the building went on this report. There's my building rate. And the heavy highway is on this report, unless I got them backwards. No, I got them right. So the heavy highway makes a little bit more. So that's the difference. If you use two job numbers, it's going to think you want two different reports, which might make sense because you can have, I mean, obviously I could set up a wage determination. I didn't do it in this tutorial, but you could put a different determination on each report, which may be good, or it may just be irritating to have two reports when you'd rather have one. So those are two different strategies we covered in this video. We covered multiple job numbers versus multiple positions to create efficiencies for things like phase code. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next video.